Hello YouTube and welcome back again to another episode of Keyforge with Kevbot, the video series designed to make you a better Keyforge player. Today we have a really cool video. We're going to be talking about card rarity in Keyforge and how it relates to strategy and some edges you guys can use to up your game. Really quick, if you guys are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. I put out new videos every single week about Keyforge strategy and gameplay, so definitely do that if you're interested in learning more about Keyforge, this new game. But we'll get right into it here, guys. First, I just want to do a quick overview of the different card rarities in this game. So in order of increasing rarity, we have common, uncommon, rare, and then special. So you can find the card rarity at the bottom towards the left of your card. So for example, this Balancing Deathwork card we have is a uncommon card right next to the card number. But about special cards, there's three different distinct categories within that special rarity. So we have fixed, maverick, and variant. So fixed, as you can imagine, if there's one card appearing in a deck, another card is going to be fixed with it. So a good representation of that would be the Horseman. So you have the Horseman of Pestilence, which is a rare card, but if that shows up, all the other Horsemen will appear with it, and they will be special rarity, whereas that original Horse of Pestilence is only rare. The other three Horsemen will have that special rarity attached, you can see there. We also have Mavericks, as you guys know. So Mavericks is just a card that appears in a different class. So they have that Maverick symbol on there, so you will be able to see those. Then we have Variant. So Variant is a little bit weird, but the best way to explain it is just like an anti-synergy card. So the really good example here would be the Master of 1, 2, or 3 cards. So if you have one of those Masters in your deck, you're not going to have the other two. That's why they're going to have a special rarity associated with them. So now that we have a good grasp of these different rarities, we're going to look at some numbers. So these numbers are courtesy of a Reddit user, jklick. He's been doing a lot of data analysis on Keyforge. Check out his posts. I'll definitely link it in the description. Huge shout out to him for letting me use that data. But we just have a visual representation of that data in a pie chart here. So you can see we have the different rarity groups, and then we have the special rarity group with it, which is fixed, maverick, and variant all put together. So commons and uncommons are going to be making up the bulk of all decks. Just about 90% of all cards discovered so far are commons and uncommons. And then we have about 9% rare, and then about 0.5% of that special rarity. Percent occurrence, just so you guys know, is they basically looked at every single card that has been discovered so far, and then they grouped them into the different rarities, and so each different rarity is that bucket of those cards, that percentile of total cards which are within a certain rarity. But as a result of these decks, jklick did the numbers and figured out that the average deck would consist of 24 commons, 9 uncommons, and 3 rares. So that's just a little bit of a gauge to see if you guys are on the higher end or the low end of the spectrum, but keep in mind that rarity doesn't necessarily equal power in this game, as I'm sure you guys know. Moving on, we got some cards that never appear in multiples. So that out of all the decks they've run, these cards have never appeared in multiples in a deck. So this is really important if you're playing a game of Keyforge and you don't know your opponent's list. If you see one of these cards, you can know that they're not going to have another one in their deck. I've sort of grouped these up into categories based on why I think they were designed like that from FFG. Obviously, Library Access and Bait Switch, super powerful cards. Would be a little bit unfair to have multiple of those in the decks. All the key interaction in the upper right hand corner seems like they don't want to overload your deck with that specific type of card, so they limited it to one there. In the lower left hand corner we have War Drummer and Replicator. Those cards can lead to some pretty obvious infinite loops, so to me that's probably why they chose to do limit those cards to one per deck. Especially War Drummer seems pretty OP if you could loop it like that. The Master of Cards we've already talked about, but you can only get one of those per deck. And lastly, in the lower right hand corner we have Aether Spider and Restringentis. So those just have some pretty powerful effects, and probably FFG didn't want to do anything crazy with those cards. But the big two you need to be looking out for is Library Access and Bait and Switch. So you know if you see one of those earlier in the game, until your opponent cycles through his or her graveyard, you're not going to see another one, so you don't have to play around it. Really good cards to keep in mind. Some takeaways here. We already went over the 4 different types of rarity, but the more complex the card is, the more rare it is going to be. So rareness is not specifically related to OP or the overall power level of card. It's more related to just the complexity. So don't worry about having a lot of rares in your deck. And then the algorithm has rules in place to correspond certain cards with or without each other. We talked about that with the different special rarities, the fixed or variant card types within the special rarity class. And then some cards can only appear once per deck. I gave you guys that visual list, but you can also check it out on this post. Definitely memorize those cards so you can know whether or not you need to be playing around certain cards in your opponent's deck. But at the end of the day, more rares is not going to equal more wins, especially some of the best cards in the game. Arise, Library Access, Bait and Switch, those are all common cards. So just because your opponent has a bunch of rares in their deck doesn't mean it's OP. You got to play with it. You got to look at the synergies. That's what's most important in Keyforge. But that's it for today, guys. I know it was a quick little topic. I spent some time this week taking some time off with family and stuff like that for Thanksgiving. I hope all of you guys had the opportunity to do that as well. But as always, just leave a like or comment if you learned something in this video, and subscribe and put on that notification if you do want to see more of these gameplay and strategy Keyforge videos. But I really appreciate all the support I've been getting lately. I've gotten a lot of channel growth, which is totally awesome. But I'll leave it with you guys. As always, I hope everyone has a great day and good luck out there battling in the Crucible.